going on, car nerds? Welcome back to the Fuel for Thought podcast. I'm Jay.
I'm Kevin.
And we got another great episode for you guys. This is episode 40 this week. Kevin, what are we talking about?
This is probably old news by the time it gets posted, but we're going to cover the Lamborghini Huracan replacement.
Yes, so it's an interesting one because the Huracan has been kind of the flagship entry-level model for Lamborghini for as long as we can remember. But, now it's being replaced by something a bit different. Yeah. So it's, it has been all over the internet. There's no actual release yet, but this is planned for August of 2024. So it's coming pretty quickly. And it's kind of in line with Lambo's whole mission to hybridize their entire fleet of cars by 2025. So that's kind of what today's going to be about. There's some interesting things about this car that we didn't really expect kind of going in. And it sounds interesting. I don't know how we feel about it. We'll go about that at the end. But what are your initial thoughts on it? I'll pull up a photo here. I'll put it up on screen too.
The look is amazing. I think, it's the same with the Revuelto. I feel like when new cars come out, we saw the new Bugatti.
Yeah.
And we're both like, I don't know about that. And most new cars are like that. But both the Revuelto and the Huracan replacement, I've been like, you know what? I like this. I think...
It's not an instant thing, though, because when I first saw the Revuelto, I was like, ew, what the hell? It looks like another concept car. But then, when you see it a couple times, you see videos of it out in the wild, you're like, oh, shit, okay, this is pretty nice looking. So I think maybe concepts can kind of throw you off, and that's kind of where I'm at with this one right now. I think it looks cool, but it looks concept-like. So I need to see it in person to really appreciate it.
Yeah, that makes sense. There's more, I guess the official release is August 2024. So we still haven't...
About a month and a half, yeah.
Yeah, so we still haven't had the whole info about it and what it looks like. Right now, what we're looking at is renders based off the spy shots that we're taking of the car. So obviously before they release a car to the public, they got to do a bunch of testing, and they put this weird camo wrap on it to kind of disguise the body lines and all. So it's hard to judge the car because we haven't really seen it.
Yeah, and that's always the interesting part. It's weird because you have an idea what it's going to look like, and then it's small tidbits are usually different than what you expect. So that's kind of the cool part about this, I guess. But at the same time, it's not really a full surprise. It's not a completely redesigned car or whatever. Kevin and I, maybe we'll do another episode on this. We just went to the Aston Martin new V8 Vantage launch. So it's kind of the same thing. It looks fantastic, don't get us wrong, but you can see the body lines before they even took the thing off and unveiled it, and you can already kind of see it was somewhat similar to the old model, and there's obviously some differences, but it's kind of cool, but also not as exciting as it could be. But so back to the Lambo. So this is supposed to be called I'm gonna butcher this like every other Italian name on the show, Temerario. Temerario.
They're gonna have to change the name. There's no way this.
Let's call it the Lambo T.
Mr. T.
Yeah, but anyway, that's supposed to be another version of a bull. So I think that's kind of what they're going towards, is these more bull names. Aventador was one of them. I think the Huracan was also a famous bull. So there's all these obviously with the logo being a bull, that's kind of what they're going for. To us, it makes no sense why they call it that, but they have a whole history on it.
Yeah.
Be interesting to dive deeper into that, but I'm sure there's a deeper meaning for bulls.
Yeah, it's a big thing in Italy, I think.
Yeah.
A lot of
that and
bulls.
espresso and pizza.
Yeah.
The other cool thing is that, the Revuelto, what's the other one that we saw in Montreal? The Sion. Yeah, so I like how they're doing, with all these newer cars, all these newer models of Lambos, they're adding hexagons everywhere. which has kind of been their like star feature kind of all along throughout their history, and now they're kind of bringing it into like the forefront of all these things. Like this one too, it has these like fog lights that are hexagons, and it has like the mirrors that have these accents, and even in the headlights there's like hexagonal. I can't speak for shit. But yeah, they're like little features in there too, so like it's really cool. And obviously, you know, like the cockpit where you have the screens, that's kind of been for a while now that's a hexagon in there, so it's like they're kind of being less discreet with it, which I kind of like personally. But I don't know, I also, you know, hexagons and bulls, I don't know where the hell this stuff comes from, but
it's like things that don't really matter, but people that like cars are able to appreciate those things.
Exactly.
Like just the detail to attention, and it's obviously what I love about Lamborghini and most exotics. It's like clearly a passion project.
Yeah, exactly.
Like they always have like little stories for everything. Everything's done with intention. It's not just like, oh, let's shove an engine and the transmission in something, put it down the factory line and ship it to customers. It's like clearly there's a reason behind this thing.
Exactly, and it's not like, I find with a lot of cars these days, they look like they were designed in a wind tunnel. You know, like everything is fuel efficiency and, you know, streamline of air, which, I mean, obviously makes sense if you're building a Formula One car, but if you're building a, you know, Honda Accord, like who gives a shit? Like maybe you'll save like 5 pennies a year. I don't know, maybe to some people that's important, but not to most people. But anyways, like this is just, it's obvious it's not that. Like it's built, like you said, with passion, with attention to detail. Like the driver's kind of kept in mind, and I think Lamborghini's always been good at that. But yeah, I'm curious to see what this new realm of hybrid cars is gonna behold, because sure, it might be hybrid, but there's still a big fat engine in it, and we'll get into that right now. So it's supposed to be a hybrid V8, and this is kind of where they're going towards.
Yeah, I think it's tragic. I mean, we all see coming, like we hear about these, you know, carbon emissions need to be reduced all around the world, and car manufacturers are like kind of forced to do this. It's clearly Lamborghini would prefer to like keep any engines, like big, beefy engines. That's kind of what they did with the Revuelto. They got to keep the V12, but they had to add batteries to kind of help with emissions. But yeah, V10 is gone. It's
depressing.
V10, yeah.
Just going on a quick side tangent here, but you know, when they hold these meetings to determine if they're gonna, you know, reduce the standards of car emissions and stuff, you know, it's people from all around the world, and like, how do they meet? They fly in a fucking airplane. Like that's literally the worst pollutant of all.
Yeah, that's
like,
true.
That like they're literally like, it cancels out. You're literally meeting about emissions, and you're using like probably one of the worst emitting things in the world to get there. It's always kind of been backwards, but I mean, there's no such thing as electric airplanes, I guess. But
yeah, but in a way, like it's hard to take away luxuries, because like we obviously know it's a problem. Like global warming is not a myth. Like shit's going down, and we have to start cutting in some places, removing luxuries, removing like a lot of things we're used to. Yeah,
but you know what it is though? I feel like, and again, there's probably studies to back this up. I would have to do a bit more research, so again, take this with a grain of salt, but car emissions are not a huge factor in global warming. Sure, they play a role, but it's mostly industry. It's mostly like agriculture. It's like huge industries like that do the majority of the polluting. It's not so much that, you know, 50,000 people driving a Tesla is going to change anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't make sense to focus on that. It feels like, you know, focusing on like an ant when there's an elephant right in front of you. You know, it's like, it makes no sense. It's a shitty analogy, but you get what I mean. But yeah, just like the scope is kind of off, it seems like. But anyway, getting off one of our environmental tangents. Obviously, we do care about the environment. That's not the whole idea here, but you know, it's just, I feel like we're kind of focusing in the wrong places.
Yeah, I can see that, but we also improving in other places. Like I want to say, meat consumption around the world has definitely dropped a lot, which is probably one of the biggest polluters in the world.
Yeah. And then coal production, like with using electricity, coal. I know China's still pretty big, and like there's Alberta here in Canada. and there's some spots in the States too that still use a lot of coal, but a lot of other areas are going to either nuclear or they're going like wind or solar, or like here we see a lot of hydroelectricity. So I mean, that's a really good move. And obviously if you drive a Tesla, this is an even cleaner way to drive. So I feel like that's also a big part, but yeah, we're kind of getting off track here, but
Yeah.
anyways, yeah, so back to the Lambo. Craziest thing, this is rumored to be a 4-liter V8 but also have turbos, so it's going to be a 4-liter V8 with turbos, and it's a hybrid. So this thing's going to pump some mad power. So I mean, although it's not as exciting maybe as a V10 and as raw sounding, there is some hope because there's some changes to how high it revs. And there's rumors of this. I read a couple articles. There is a connection, apparently, to Ferrari's F1 engine. And that's kind of where they got like the idea to go this high, and where they probably got some of the parts to actually build it out to be able to do this. But it is apparently supposed to be able to rev to 10,000 RPM.
That's pretty crazy.
That's pretty nuts. Considering, I mean, what's a GT3 RS? 93?
I think 95.
Yeah, I mean, pretty much as high as a GT3 RS, but then it's a V8 with turbos. So I don't even know how that's going to work. Because usually turbocharged engines are low RPM too, right?
So the thing I read about this car, which is pretty interesting, Lamborghini absolutely did not want turbo noise with the car. They wanted to keep, so they went like really, really small turbos. But the thing that's like the most fascinating is apparently at very low RPM, the turbos are just not working. They're just being bypassed.
Really?
Or maybe it's the other way around, because turbos are for torque. I don't know. I forgot, but something to do with the turbos being off and bypass, so you like don't hear, you mostly hear the engine.
That's pretty cool. I mean, obviously if it revs to 10,000 RPM and all you hear is turbo whistle, it's kind of pointless.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I'm genuinely excited to hear what this thing sounds like. Because as sad as it is for the V10 to go, like, this is probably the next best thing. Like, having a high revving V8. Like, I'm just picturing, like, a BMW M3, like an E92, or even, like a Ferrari of some sort, you know? Like, one of those high revving, like the 458 or even the F430.
Yeah. I mean, we can look, like, kind of compare to what Ferrari did with the 458 moving towards the 488. So we went from NA V8 to then a twin turbo V8, and they had a lot of backlash, which is kind of like this car is probably going to have. But I feel like now with the F8 and the 488 Pista, it doesn't sound that bad. It'll never be the level of 458, because that's just probably the best sounding engine. And even the 432, that's pretty sweet too.
The Enzo, obviously it's not a V8, but
yeah,
they just like that raw V8, V12 sound, like something that's, you know, you can tell there's no alterations. It's just straight up V8.
Yeah, but their current V8 twin turbo still sounds exotic. It's not.
That's true.
Yeah, I feel like it's a compromise, but not that bad. So.
You know what's funny though? When I think about like a really good sounding V8 twin turbo, I immediately think about a Koenigsegg, and that's all turbo whistle. So it's like there's kind of a spectrum here, because kind of like a Hellcat, I do like hearing the growl underneath, like a whine of some sort. Like in this case, like a Koenigsegg, right? When it drives away, you hear like that huge turbo whistle, but then if they really step on it, you hear like that growl from the V8 along with it. It sounds insane. So, I mean, if it had something like that, that'd be good. But, like, if you, like, it's like a turbo diesel truck, you know, that wouldn't be great.
No, yeah.
But, yeah, so this is supposed to have, and this is confirmed by Lambo now, 3 hybrid electric motors. So, I'm guessing it's going to be 2 in the front, 1 in the rear. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to be, but that's usually how they do it.
Yeah, that's what they're doing with the Revialto. So, they're probably just taking the tech and moving it to that car.
Yeah, exactly. Because, the Urus SE. God, Italians need to stop making such hard words. That's apparently, those 2 are also like similar hybrid, like we mentioned, for that 2025 target. But the craziest thing of all, with all of this, it's rumored that this hybrid and turbo action is going to get it to around 900 horsepower. And this is because the Revialto is around 1,015 horsepower, so it's kind of slotted a little bit lower than that. But I mean, that's still ridiculous for like an entry level Lambo.
The thing that like baffles me about Lambo is just the insane jump for both cars the next generation.
Yeah.
Because usually we're talking like cars will go 50, if you're lucky, 100 horsepower from
Like the F12 to 812.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
100.
Yeah, like from the complete new generation, Lambo just said fuck it, let's go balls to the wall. They went from the Aventador 700 to the Reveal to 1,000, and then this one 600 to 900.
Yeah, it's insane. I feel like almost there, because I mean, since when has the Huracan been in production? Like the early 2010s, right?
I think 2013,
Yeah,
2014.
exactly. So that's like 10 years, right? It's almost like they're building momentum that entire time. So it's like as soon as they launch the Huracan, they're like, okay, we gotta start building the next version, and it's gonna come out in 2024, and we're gonna make it this insane project. And that whole time, I mean, probably realistically wasn't that whole time, but it almost seems like they were building momentum for something like this. It's not like, you know, every other company does, just like, oh shit, we need another model next year, let's pump it out, come on.
Yeah.
So they really put some thought into it, it seems like. But yeah.
This is like I see it changing the car, the exotic car market completely, because Ferrari and Porsche and McLaren are gonna have to catch up to these guys.
Yeah, definitely.
They're not gonna let them like just dominate the market like that.
Yeah, it's all being advanced forward by like leaps and bounds now. So it's
Yeah.
gonna be pretty crazy. Like soon, the standard supercar is gonna have around 1,000 horsepower. That's insane to think about.
Yeah, because like, I mean, 20 years ago, the Veyron was the flagship car.
Yeah, that was around
and like
1,000, right?
1001. Yeah, like the original Veyron, and that was like millions of dollars.
It still sounds insane. Like 1,000 horsepower sounds ridiculous.
Yeah.
But now you can get it in a freaking Huracan replacement, pretty much.
Yeah.
And the Revuelto, which replaces the Aventador. And like, I mean, Aventadors, sure, they're fantastic, but you do see them a lot. So it's like, if that becomes the norm, that means that 1,000 horsepower is just like, you know, around the corner. That's pretty nuts to think about.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, like 500 used to be a lot, like 10 years ago. It just keeps going like this.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, pretty nuts. But, yeah, I don't know. What's your thoughts on like the whole thing? I know the hybrid thing is a little bit of a shock, but like overall, would you buy this over the Huracan?
Hard to say. I never really liked the Huracan. I've always been a Gallardo guy.
Facts.
Same. So yeah, like I'm always eyeing Gallardos.
Unless it's like a Performante or an STO, I could get behind it. But those are like price range of like 812s. So
Yeah, but even then, I'd rather, like, if I was given the opportunity to buy Huracan Performante versus Gallardo Supergiro,
fair.
I would go with Gallardo.
I might choose the Performante just because of the interior.
That's true, yeah.
Because it does have a nice updated interior and not fucking Audi stereo player. So
yeah,
that is one thing.
I think the Performantes when they introduced, because like when they introduced the Huracan, it didn't have like the full touchscreen in the middle, and then the Huracan Evo is when they introduced it. But I think for the Performante they had it as well.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
And then the STO has it in all the recent ones.
Yeah, we saw that one, like, at the Yorkville car show. That one in the hotel. That thing looked pretty crazy. I think it was a gold. Was it a gold? Or was it...
No, it was like green.
Green.
That was the Huracan Technica.
Right.
And then there was the matte red STO.
Right, the matte red. That's what it was. Yeah, that thing looks ridiculous, though.
It's crazy how many variants of the Huracan.
Yeah.
I can, like, right now, can think of probably 10.
It's nuts.
Maybe
I mean,
more.
even the Aventador, like, I remember there was just an Aventador and Aventador S, and now all of a sudden there's, like, 5 or 6. You know what I mean? Like, they went to the SV, SVJ, the Ultimate. They have, like, so many different variants now that I'm like, holy shit, like, you don't notice them, but then all of a sudden you have a bunch of them.
Mm-hmm.
But, I mean, hey, I'm not complaining.
I mean, I think in one of our first episode, we talked about how many Aventadors were built, and it's something like 10,000.
It's a lot.
Yeah. I mean, like, that's a lot of money for a Lamborghini, because, like, they're not cheap cars. They're averaging about 500, 600,000.
Yeah.
To sell that many is, like, wow. Insane.
I think this whole thing about the price point started, because I remember reading an article about Chris Brown, because they weren't producing them very quickly at the start. and he really wanted one. So they were retailing for 250,000, and he overbid and paid 500,000, and that kind of set the benchmark for like what people were gonna pay. So then Lambo's like, fuck it, we can just charge 500 now. So yeah, buddy fucked us all.
Yeah.
Just doubled the price overnight, I guess.
But now the thing that's even more insane is because, they're not producing them anymore. Most of them are trading like, especially the latest editions, like the Ultimate, the SVJ, they're like in the millions, which is just crazy. Like, you can't get an SVJ for under $1 million.
That's so sad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's brutal.
This is what, 2-3 years after production. Think about it in like 10 years.
Yeah, it's gonna be nuts. Especially as the numbers dwindle and people crash them and stuff. Like it's gonna keep getting worse.
Yeah.
But yeah.
All right. Well, we got.
Guys, please watch this fucking podcast. We need to get rich and buy an SVJ. All right, this is a very long-winded episode about one silly little car, but yeah, ultimate thoughts. Would you shit? It could be interesting to see one. I'm curious if there would be one at a car show in the near future. I mean, obviously they have to be delivered. It's probably 2025 summer.
Yeah, because even the Rev Rialto, it's been out for a while, and
I don't really see many.
It's
a different price point, but
well, they're slowly being rolled out. But I don't know if one customer car has made it to Canada just yet.
Oh, that's true. We live in a third world country. I forgot.
I guess they're starting to show up, especially in Europe. There's quite a few in Europe. I don't know about the U.S. if there's been that many out there, but they're already starting to have issues. So it's unfortunate.
It's the first gen car. That's usually how it goes.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Like the Aventador had when it was released had so many overheating issues.
Yeah,
and there's also I read an article, which is crazy to me. So you know how cars have like evap systems to like get rid of gases so it doesn't build up too much pressure in the engine. I don't know what Lamborghini was thinking. They put the little evap hose. You know how there's two grills at the back? They just put one like at the back, so people would rev and shoots flames, and then it would catch the evap and just light the car on fire.
What the fuck?
So it was like bad. And
that reminds me of like the fire extinguisher in the 458.
Yeah,
pretty baller.
Yeah, because
like, honey, I might be home or I might be a fireball. You'll see later.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. A 458 Speciale burnt down in California. Like,
that's the other thing, because they're not making them either. So it's like all these cars are going up in value like crazy. Yeah. Anyways, yeah, this has been long enough about one car, but so let us know your thoughts on what you think of this new Huracan replacement, Temerario. Temerario. Yeah, say it with an Italian flair and you'll get it right.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you think. Do you want to hear this thing, the 10,000 RPM? Do you think the V8's a good replacement for a V10? No. But yeah, let us know what you think. Anything else?
That's it.
Cool. All right, guys, thanks for watching episode 40. We will see you next week for episode 41.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.